In this video, we'll take a look at how to compute child support in Florida. So if you have a child together with your ex and you're in a divorced child support, divorce shared custody arrangement, I'm sorry, and you want to determine how much child support you might have to pay or how much child support you can expect to get from your ex, then this is a pretty good calculator that we can use. Now, many states in the US have their own calculators that they have developed and hosted on their government websites. But there are some states where there are privately hosted and developed calculators. For example, in Florida, here is this really good calculator that seems to do a really good job. I'm going to post this URL in the description so you can go there as well. This appears to be a privately hosted and developed calculator, but it does a pretty good job. So I'm going to take you through this. Before you proceed, it expects that you agree that you have read the disclaimer, which is of course very important because it will help you understand that whatever numbers are computed here, this is not a court order. This is not a website where you can produce a court order. This is only a website where you can determine, where you can estimate the amount of child support that is obligated. And basically the process is that you can use this calculator to get an estimate. It'll produce a PDF that you can then attach to your petition to modify child support, or if you're responding to a petition to modify child support, you can use that PDF, present it in front of a judge. The judge will take a look at it and then determine if that is accurate, if the information that you have provided, the income documents that you have provided are accurate, and then measure um, the child support that you have determined actually matches the current situation. If that is the case, then the judge may accept what you have come up with, but the judge has the final authority. The judge will also consider some extraordinary circumstances that it will be impossible to capture in this calculator, which you can present in front of the judge, and then based on that, the judge can adjust the amount upward or downward. So this is an estimate, this is a starting point, and this will give you a PDF that you can attach to your court pleadings. But before we before you continue, I would encourage that you read this because this has notes for some special circumstances as well. And before you decide to attach this PDF that it generates to your pleadings, it is always a good idea to talk to an attorney, because an attorney can most likely tell you if you're on the right track, right? And then if you can get some more credits to reduce the child support obligation, if you're going to pay child support, or maybe you can adjust it adjust it with actual facts that you may not have thought about, that can get you more child support for your child. So either way, it's always a good idea um, to consult with an attorney. But let's assume that you want to, at this point, just find out how much child support might be obligated. I'm going to go ahead and calculate. In this, what we'll do is we will enter a number of facts, number of numbers about you and your ex-spouse and the child or children, and based on that, it will compute the obligation, the expected or the estimated obligation. For the purposes of this example, let's assume that there's a father and mother with one child, and both parents earn, and the child lives part of the time with the father and part of the time with the mother being the parent with whom the child lives most of the time. So let's say the father earns $4,000 net a month, and the mother earns $3,000 net a month, just for the sake of example. What it does is automatically calculates a total of 7,000. Then it asks you how many children you have together. Let's say for this example, there's only one child together. Based on this, what it does is says if there's one child of parents who together earn $7,000, then the state estimates that such parents of this kind of standard of wealth will be spending $1,212 on the child per month. This is, of course, an estimate based on some numbers and statistics that the government has access to. This is, of course, not expected to be the accurate number every time, every month, but the government has calculated that if there's one child of parents who together earn $7,000 net every month, then it is expected that based on that standard of living, they would spend approximately this amount every month. This covers the basic obligation, which means that something that all children um, are expected to incur for their expenses. This does not cover additional or special circumstance numbers as we will see below. Now, based on this, what it has done is the calculator has split this number based on the ratio of incomes between father and mother. In this case, the father is $4,000 out of the $7,000, which is 57.14%. It calculated that for us. And the mother is 3,000 out of 7,000, which is 42.86%. Now what it'll do is it'll take this number and multiply that with this to compute the father's share of the basic monthly obligation and the mother's share of the basic monthly obligation. This is not complete. We haven't taken into account any additional expenses, and we have not taken into account how much time the child lives with each parent. So let's proceed. This goes to additional support. This is a section where you can enter specific additional numbers that are applicable to this child and to this situation. This is not something that all parents have. That's why this is additional. For example, monthly childcare costs. For if both parents work, as the case in this case, then it is expected that they'll have some childcare costs. For example, when the kid comes back from school in the afternoon and both parents are working, they need somebody to look after the kid. Either they have signed up with aftercare at the school, or they have hired a nanny and they have to pay the nanny. So let's assume that parents incur an expense of an additional $200 for aftercare or expenses for the child. Total monthly children's health insurance cost. This is only amounts actually paid for health insurance on the children. So suppose that the father is eligible to include his child on his health insurance provided by his employer for a very nominal sum. Let's say the father has to pay $20 a month to enroll the child in his own health insurance. So that's an additional amount that is spent for the child's upbringing. Total monthly children's non-covered medical, dental, prescription medication costs. Let's say there's nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that's not already in basic support. So nothing special for this child. So you can enter the numbers that are applicable, but for the sake of this example, let's just say it's just 0. It calculated the total based on 200 plus 20 is 220. And then what it did is, since this is shared this obligation is shared between the parents, it once again split it in the ratio of income. So the father's income ratio, if you scroll up a little bit, you might remember that is 57% and the mother's is 43% almost. So this number, 220, is now split between the father and the mother in those ratios. Now let's talk about credits, right? So if the father owes 125.71 plus this amount for the child, then he should get credit for whatever he has already paid, right? So monthly childcare payments actually made. This is the father's column and this is the mother's column. Supposing the $200 that we talked about that the parents pay to the nanny, supposing it is a mother who just pays that directly to the nanny. So the mother pays $200 directly to the nanny. The father does not pay anything to the nanny, suppose. Monthly health insurance, as we talked about, that the father gets this, deduct this from his paycheck every month. And so we just enter that under the father. Other parents, non-covered, we decided this was 0, so let's leave it out as 0. What this does is it adds these numbers up and gives the father credit, and it comes out to be this. And then it adds the numbers up for the mother and gives the mother credit for $200, and the mother's obligation, the mother's remaining obligation, comes out to be this amount. Now, let's go further. It's computing some numbers here, and then it says number and percentage of overnights stay with each parent. Let's say that with the father, the child lives 165 overnights a year, and with the mother, the child lives 200 overnights a year. It scrolled down. So we're back here. Supposing the mother has most of the nights and the father still has a significant number. The total, of course, has to be 365. Based on this, it computes that the child is with the father for 45% of the overnights and with the mother for almost 55% of the overnight. Then what it does, it takes the obligation numbers we had computed here based on calculating or following through with the numbers from the top coming down here. It takes this and then divides that, um, taking into account the overnights, and it comes out to these numbers, right? So basically, it comes out with the obligations per the income ratio and the overnights, the ratio of the overnights. This is again the same thing, but just puts it together in the same um, section together. And then monthly childcare payments actually made by the mother 200, by the father 20. It computes that and it subtracts, right? So basically it says that the father is supposed to pay his share and the mother is supposed to pay her share. And based on what credits the father got, what credits the mother got, it deducts that. And after some more deductions and adjustments and additions, it comes out to be that the father owes $322.74 to the mother. Basically, the father owes, the parents together owe the child, but because the father earns more and the child lives with the mother more, therefore there is a net transfer payment from the father to the mother in the amount of 322. This is very different, of course, from the number we had calculated here, here, and here, and here, because the father gets credit for the $20 he contributes and for the amount, number of overnights that the child that lives with him. The mother gets credit for the $200 she pays, and then, of course, the number of overnights that the child lives with her. Computing all of that together, I'm scrolling all the way down, computing all of that together, the difference comes out to be $322.74, and that is how much the father is expected to pay to the mother. Now, as we had talked about, there's a print button. If you click on the print button, you can then print this PDF. It has entered all the numbers, 200, 20, 692, basically the same thing. It has entered all of those numbers in this PDF, and it has printed, it has put that number here. So this is an excellent calculator that you can use to determine the amount of support that you may be owed if you are the receiving parent, or you may owe if you are the paying parent. Of course, this is, as I said, this is not the final number. This is just number you present to the judge. And then the judge looks at the situation and then either says, yes, this is the number, or adjusts it upward or downward based on the situation, based on the evidence that is provided by both parties. So I hope this was useful. I hope using this, you can get an estimate of the child support owed. I hope that this has given you enough knowledge to understand how things work. I suggest that you also view my other video that explains how child support works in general, just to understand why we're even bothering to do this here. And if you did find this video helpful, I hope you will like it. And I hope you will subscribe to my channel so that you can get notified of other videos that I come up with that might be helpful to you. I wish you the best. Thanks for watching.